What if the American dream isn't just fading away? What if it's being actively taken apart and replaced with something, well, something a lot harsher? A brand new analysis we're diving into today argues that's exactly what's happening right now. So that brings us to the big question, really. Is that classic American story of working hard and getting ahead, is it over? Or is a new, much more challenging story taking its place as we speak? You see, the whole idea behind this report is that four massive economic and social forces aren't just happening on their own anymore. They're actually starting to collide, feeding into each other, and creating this powerful feedback loop that's literally splitting the country in two. All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the big picture idea, this systemic convergence. Then we'll break down the four key things driving it. We'll look at the red flags that are already flashing, explore three very different ways this could all play out, and then finally, we'll ask, what would it actually take for things to be okay? Okay, let's kick things off with this core idea, systemic convergence. And the most important thing to get here is that this isn't some sci-fi prediction about 2050. The authors of this report are basically pointing out the window and saying, no, look, this is already happening, it's here. And this is what it's leading to. It's not one big crash, it's a split, a great divide. The analysis describes a future with a super productive AI-powered core of the economy, and then a huge indebted and economically struggling periphery. We're talking about two Americas living in completely different worlds. So what's actually causing this great divide? What are the engines behind this thing? Let's dig into the four main drivers that are really pushing this change forward. Driver number one, and this is a big one, the broken career ladder. Now, the immediate threat from AI isn't that everyone's going to lose their job tomorrow. It's way more targeted. It's wiping out those junior, entry-level, white-collar jobs, the exact jobs that have always been the first step on the ladder to a solid career. And hey, this isn't just a theory. The numbers are pretty stark. There's been a staggering 35% drop in these kinds of job postings in just the last year. That first rung on the career ladder, it's literally being sawed off right from under our feet. Driver number two is what the report calls structural exclusion. For generations, buying a house was the main way the middle class built wealth. Simple as that. The report argues that's completely over. Housing now works more like a mathematical wall, just systematically keeping entire generations locked out. I mean, this slide says it all, doesn't it? The typical home now costs 5 times what the typical person earns in a year. The historical norm was around 3.5. This isn't about skipping a few lattes. For millions of people, the math just doesn't work anymore. It's become impossible. And next up, we have the student debt time bomb. And this is where the convergence idea gets really, really scary. You have an entire generation that took on huge amounts of debt for a degree that promised a good career, only to graduate right at the moment AI is targeting those very careers. It's just a perfect storm. Just look at this number. After the student loan payment pause ended, the rate of people seriously behind on their payments exploded from less than 1% to over 14%. The report calls it a mass insolvency event, and it's hitting the exact same people getting locked out of the job market. And the fourth and final driver is political dysfunction. You can think of this as the great stress multiplier. In past crises, right, think 2008, think 2020, the government was able to step in with a massive, cohesive response to save the system. The report's argument is that that ability is just gone. And here's why. With public trust in government down at a dismal 38%, and with everything being so polarized, the kind of massive system-saving intervention we saw back in 2008 feels almost impossible today. The whole system is basically stuck in gridlock. So, with all these forces slamming into each other, where do things stand right now? Let's take a look at the dashboard, so to speak, and see which warning lights are already flashing bright red. Yikes! This dashboard from the report is pretty chilling. 2 of the absolute most critical indicators are already deep in the red zone. The student loan bomb has already gone off, and the entry-level job market is in a nosedive. This isn't some problem for the future. This is a crisis happening as we speak. So, where on earth do we go from here? The analysis lays out 3 possible futures. And let me tell you, each one would mean something profoundly different for the country. So the report basically gives us 3 paths.
You've got the bull case, which is the optimistic one, and AI soft landing, where all this new tech creates a boom and everyone benefits. Then you have the bear case, a cascading failure, like a rapid-fire crash even worse than 2008. And then there's the base case, somewhere in the middle, the fracturing 30s, basically a long decade of instability and deepening division.
And here's how the report handicaps the odds. It gives a 60% chance to that long, painful decade of division and instability. And get this, a full-blown crash is seen as more likely than a smooth AI-powered recovery. That is a really sobering forecast, to say the least. But okay, what if that forecast is wrong? For our last section, let's flip the script. How would we know if things were actually getting better? What are the signs we should be looking for that tell us the storm isn't coming? The report actually gives us a really clear checklist for what a real recovery would look like. We'd need to see entry-level hiring bounce back in a big way. We'd need a real solution to the student debt crisis. Housing would have to become genuinely affordable again, and wage growth would need to be felt by everyone, not just the top. And maybe the hardest one of all, we'd need a government that could actually work together to solve big problems. These are the green lights we should all be watching for. Which really leaves us with this final thought. All the evidence we've looked at today describes a system that is under a kind of stress it was never designed to handle. These forces are fundamentally rewriting the rules of the American economy. So the only real question left is, what will the new rules be? Does the whole thing just break, or does it transform into something else entirely?